Hello, I'm Philip Stoughton. I'm here at Apex in San Diego, and I'm joined by Pam Gordon. Pam, lovely to see you again.
Lovely to see you.
Always good to talk to you about what's going on in the environmental side, the sustainability side of things. And one of the key areas in electronics is that we buy so much of it and then we replace it.
Right.
Where does all that stuff go? Talk to me a little bit about that and how perhaps we can reduce some of that waste in that part of the economy.
Absolutely, Phil. So you think that I'm going to start talking about the waste, but no, actually I'm going to start talking about design.
Okay.
So when we have the concept of a product, let's say not even a product, a solution. So a company wants to bring value to their customers in such a way that they can't help but buy from them. So we've always sprung to it's got to be a new product, but maybe it doesn't. So maybe it can be a service, or maybe it can parlay existing hardware in the market. So when we design for dematerialization, big word, but it's kind of self-evident what it means, and design for reuse, refurbish, upgrade, reselling, and finally recycling, then we're not saddled with uncontrollable e-waste.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because if I look back at what I was seeing at CES this year, particularly in Eureka Park with the startups, so many of the solutions they were providing used existing hardware, and that existing hardware is obviously the ubiquitous smartphone. But being able to design an app or a small add-on device that connects to it, so we don't constantly have to create another processor, seems to be what we're seeing in an innovation strategy in terms of product. The other trend I'm interested in is that trend that I call Uberization, which is nice for Uber, but it is perhaps not a real trend. That whole idea of the shared economy, that must have a positive impact there too.
Absolutely. It makes so much sense, for example, in data centers. When you own your own data center, you're having some kind of uneven demand unless you're really smart about it and you're having others outsource to you. But when we share data center spaces and we optimize the equipment, we make sure we pick equipment that's going to be in place for 5 or more years before repurposed, then we're getting ultimate maximization of the resources. And it's not just the hardware, naturally, it's the energy, it's the cooling, which would be as much as the energy. It's the platform. It's huge. So yes, whether you're sharing phone services like they do in some developing nations, whether it's something like a car, capital equipment, and in our tech industry, data centers, it's definitely the way to go.
I'm excited to see what can happen with car sharing. The idea that we would have less car parks in Silicon Valley excites me. There's a lot of space there that could be parks and all kinds of other things. So I think there's an interesting.
Because I grew up in Silicon Valley.
There you go.
When it was still Santa Clara Valley.
When there were orchards. Let's bring those orchards back. The other area I think is interesting is potentially the Uberization of some of the manufacturing process. I talk to and visit a lot of EMS factories that are running at quite a high percentage of capacity, but there are quite a number of bits of equipment that get used like 10% of the time.
That's right.
Maybe they can Uberize those. I think there are some interesting areas there. Tell me a bit about the work you're doing with Antea and how people that are in the tech sector can access that kind of support.
Absolutely. One of the things about Antea Group is we're a member of the Circular Economy 100. It's based on the Ellen MacArthur Foundation from England, and it's a group of companies who are looking at how can we avoid that waste that you started talking about at the beginning of the interview. How can we design for circularity? In short, what it means is that no materials are leaking outside of the economy. Because once something hits a landfill, or even recycling, if it's not well utilized, if it's downcycled, let's say a product that was used for higher purpose and now can only be used in something much cheaper, it's leaking out of economic value. So it starts with design, it starts with a new mentality, it starts with shared hardware, as you said. It starts with the CEO and CFO talking about how can we make our products and services available to customers in a way that they think is better.
Yeah, and more valuable to the consumer. And simpler for the consumer to get out. That makes perfect sense.
Right.
Pam, always fascinating to speak to you.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure to see you again and look forward to next time.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.